does it take to run a successful building products company? You know, the kind of company that's going to win over the people who run an operation like this, RoMac Building Supply in Leesburg, Florida. I'm Craig Webb. I'm president of Webb Analytics, and my job is to talk about the trends and the threats and the opportunities facing construction supply. Today, I have gone up to an area just north of Orlando to visit with Don Magruder. He's the CEO of RoMac Building Supply, and he's been in the business 44 years, 26 of them running what is one of the biggest independent building material dealers in the state of Florida. He's got a few ideas about what it takes to be a good supplier. We're going to talk about it right now. We've talked about what it means to be a good sales rep. Let's talk about the manager. Let's think about the person running the operation. Are there particular things that the back office of a supplier needs to be doing in order to win your business?
You know, absolutely. We don't do business with some vendors because they can't keep our billing straight. At RoMac Building Supply, one of our pet peeves is to ever lose a cash discount. In the 20-something years that I've been here, the times we've lost a cash discount has always been because of a vendor failure to properly bill us. And we're very much sticklers on how we control our inventory. So vendors that can't do a proper account, can't bill us correctly, we have a problem with it. The other thing is, we like the vendors that come to us and say, well, how would you like us to build? Now this sounds foolish, but we're a company and we have our own payables department. Every check is written out just down from my office in Leesburg. And we have 4 or 5 young ladies in there. So if everybody wants to be paid on the 10th, it's not a question of the cash, it's a question of the actual processing of the bills. So we have some of our vendor partners, we said, hey, you can change our terms up, but if we could stagger our dates where we don't have to cut as many checks or whatever, it helps us out. And those vendor partners who have accommodated us on these billing issues just to allow our staff to work with it, that's mattered a lot to us. So how you bill us, when you bill us, making sure that we get our cash discount and make sure it's accurate, it's extremely important to us.
How do you feel about dating as a way to win your business?
We're financially strong. We're more into cash discounts. Dating could be important in some areas, but if you give me a choice between dating and cash discounts, I'm going to take a cash discount.
And on the list of things that matter to you, where does the price of the product figure in?
When we negotiate our contracts for the year and negotiate with vendors, the first thing I tell you is no matter what, supply chain disruption, you're going to honor and keep us in stock. So the first thing is that commitment that we will not run out. And even though we're a relatively small independent compared to all the national people, we never had much in supply chain disruptions through 22, 23, or 21, 22, because for 25 years I've been here, we've had contracts, we've lived up to them, we've done what we said, and people could rely on that. So I think those relationships with our vendors really were solid and kept us in stock. But the first thing we talk about is supply. The builders we supply, we cannot run out. The second thing is we've got to be competitive. Competitive means we've got to be within 1% of everybody else. And that competitiveness then goes cash discounting. It goes to terms when they want to be paid. You know, if you're someone that we have to pay an invoice every 10 days, well, hell, that puts a burden on our payables people, and that matters to us. And then, of course, all the other services, like if we have a problem, taking care of that. And then the other thing, we do a lot of we do a contractor night, for example. Ours is May the 3rd, and we have this year people who support our marketing efforts. We have a marketing fund that they support. And like this year, we're going to have John Michael Montgomery, but we're going to have 1,500 contractors at our contractor night. It's sort of become the contractor social event, but our vendor partners participate. And every one of our vendor partners that participate tell us that that's the best contractor night they go to by far, because there are real people there and you can meet and show your product. So the total package, the participation in our CEU programs and what we do, we truly embrace our vendors to work with us, because I go back to this whole thing. It's important to be competitive so we can sell, but it's important that we can provide the information so we can be that source of information to our builders.
For some dealers, the money that they get to help promote products and buy T-shirts and do other things are really important. Other dealers are on the scale of, we decide what we want to do, and if the vendor wants to get involved, we'll take the money. Where is RoMac on that scale?
The way we are and the way we've operated for all the years I've been here is we have a marketing plan, and we designate primary vendors and say, hey, look, as a primary vendor, you're going to be able to get access to our sales meetings, to our lunch and learns, to our contractor nights, to our CEU programs. You're going to have total access, and your money will be spent. And to be honest with you, RoMac's probably going to put just as much or more in this marketing, but together, these funds will be allocated for pull-through marketing to build our relationship with builders. For example, like our contractor night, it's in May. We're going to have John Michael Montgomery, and we're going to invite 1,500 builders free of charge. And you're going to be able to have a barbecue beforehand, and you're going to be able to meet all these people. And we encourage you to set up a booth and be ready to engage, and it's a wonderful event. But that money we get from our vendors, we designate that plus a whole bunch more with ours and our effort to do it in our CEU program. So we have an organized way of doing it that really bang for a buck. For example, we do lunch and learns. We have our own training center here that can hold 200 people. We do lunch and learns, and we allow our vendors that are primary vendors to have lunch and learns and bring people in. And our marketing team, we have a great marketing team. We actually have a media and marketing department. We bring in a lot of people. For example, we had in February a economic update. We've been doing it along with the Lake County 100. We had almost 200 people there. And so we're actually doing the things in marketing. And it's not about a T-shirt or a hat. It's about providing opportunities to engage with customers, and that's where you win.
You talked about yourself not being as big as the biggest dealers out there, but let's face it, there aren't that many big independents left in Florida.
Yep.
You're one of the most important. You've got some weight. Theoretically, the sales reps are going to be paying attention to you more than they are to the much smaller places that in Florida that still are around and in the rest of the country. What can a small dealer do to get share time of the sales rep that goes beyond maybe what the dollars that they're spending figure in?
You know what I think most importantly, where a lot of independent reps or independent businesses fail with their vendor partners, is that they treat them like a number. They don't treat them, I use a word in my business a lot, respect. And that goes, I respect our employees. I'm like a mafia guy. Respect is this big word for me. You respect the people who work for us, the folks who sweep the floor, you're very respectful. But on the vendor side, a lot of people disrespect their vendors. You know, they treat them as a nuisance. They don't listen to them. That's not us, because one thing I've found out that every vendor, we may not be doing business with you right now, but at some point there could be a product line that we could need and you would want to sell us. And and plus another thing about our business, we all intermingle. In the last 44 years of being this, you know, guys I've known 40 years ago was selling 2x4s this way, now he's selling doors this way. You know, we all sort of say the same thing. And I just found out if you're being very respectful and listen to people and being honest, you know, the other thing, I don't have to get mad with someone and say, hey, you know, look at, we went with a new program. And, you know, when we decide who we're going to do contracts with, I've been honest with people. Sometimes say, hey, you had actually a better price, but we've had this long-term relationship. The people feel more comfortable in doing this, but we're going to still buy secondary products from you. But, you know, just being honest and respectful, I find out is the most important thing with our vendors. And I think if more people did that, the vendors would appreciate it. And that's where I get a little aggravated with some of our vendors. they'll come in my office and say, well, Don, how can we sell you? Okay, we'll say, well, you need to, this is how we go to market, this. And they don't listen. And then I can't tell you how many times in the last year a vendor will approach me and say, Don, we'd really like to talk to you about a new program and do this. And I say, hey, look, we're looking for a new program and maybe an ancillary line or a different line. And yeah, let's talk about and they'll say, and they're full of gung-ho enthusiasm wanting to sell us. We'll have the meeting and then we'll never hear anything. You know, we are very transparent, and we're, unlike a lot of people, we don't keep people guessing, but the follow-up lately on some of our vendor partners is, if you have a new program and someone gives you a door to open, go through the door. Some of them don't.
I think there's a general belief among dealers that there are fewer traveling sales reps around for these companies and that they're trying to rely a little bit more on technology. Has that pendulum swung too far?
Yes. I have an opinion that retailers have forgotten how to be retailers, and companies have forgotten to have how sales representatives are supposed to act. We have inside sales reps and we have outside sales reps, and both serve a purpose, but both need to know their roles. And quite honestly, the last few years, in all cases, people have gotten lazy. You know, I go into some of the big box stores and I look at, and I'm not telling anybody how to run their business by no means, but I look at some of the retail schemes and what they're doing, and, you know, if I were running a retail building material outlet, I'd go back and learn how to be retailers and how to provide service. Because when you have customers wandering your stores and they don't know where to ask somebody or get an answer, you know, I think some people need to rethink and go back to Retail 101.
Have you ever dropped a vendor over a warranty fulfillment issue?
Yes. The biggest thing a vendor can do is tell us that they're going to warranty something or cover something or if there's a problem, and then when push comes to shove, they don't. We had a window company, and it was during the pandemic, came in and said, okay, we got this window. They were out of a Midwest state. I'm not going to identify the company. And they said, we really want to get in the Florida market. And we had the mechanism to sell a lot of windows for them. And they said, okay, first off, we can give you 6, 7, 8 weeks lead time. Secondly, if there are any issues, we're going to address them. Well, we started out with them, got a few orders. Things looked a little positive, but then the lead times went to 12 to 16 weeks. Okay. Then we had some issues with products. No follow-up, no service, no answers. And in fact, some 2 or 3 years later, we have a customer, we're still dealing with issues. We won't never sell that window again. And then we've had issues as far as certain types of plywood that failed, and the company didn't react. And it wasn't that it got wet or anything. It's a bona fide product failure. Well, yeah, we're not going to do that. So yeah, it happens frequently, but most of the vendors we do business now, and first off, we're not trying to deceive nobody or lie. If we have a legitimate problem, we have the merchandise showing, hey, look it, and everybody corrects it and goes about their way. But we do have people that do that, and it's an important part of the process, because at the end of the day, we have to take care of that end user.
Yeah. A number of manufacturers and vendors have tried to combine things. You know, if they sold doors, they started selling windows. If they sold molding, they started selling other products.
Yeah.
Under the belief that the more products they could sell you, the more likely they were to sort of dominate the business and get more of your business.
Yeah.
Do you have philosophies as to how many vendors are enough vendors? Like, for example, just as an example, do you always want to have 2 companies providing the same kind of product, just in case one fails?
Well, you know, most people, our builders have learned that lesson. There are builders, especially on the national level, that before the pandemic, we had a tough time selling. But they've had an epiphany, and they said, we're not going to put all our eggs in one basket. And especially there's been a movement towards more local people because they found out, hey, these local guys can pull a few things out. But we have adopted the same principle. I have sort of a crude adage, and I'm going to tell you what. During the pandemic, we had some builder-related companies buy some truss plants that were probably struggling, and because they couldn't get trusses, they've decided they were going to build trusses. And the adage I told many people, and I'm going to apply it, wrap it around the vendors, a builder buying a truss plant is like a priest buying a whorehouse. Neither one knows what they're doing. And today, we're seeing companies buy unrelated companies. Roofing company may buy a door company, window company, or whatever. Well, first off, that's not new. That's the way it was in the 70s. There's a company called Union Camp that bought stuff and did that. And at the end of the day, they all busted up, and those things are no longer exist. People have to have expertise. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize, even in M&A, you can buy a facility, you can buy a door plant, window company, but if you don't have the expertise, especially today, running it, you're going to fail. And there are companies buying these companies in these areas that they don't have the strong leadership. They don't have the strong research and development. And I'm not sure how it's going to work out, because at the end of the day, with 3.7% unemployment, people like you and me getting older and grayer, the development of talent and people running these businesses, if you don't have it in place, the four walls and the facilities don't matter.
Let's talk about training. You have sales reps that you have to train. Mm-hmm. Vendors have sales reps that they have to train.
Yeah.
Are there certain principles that you think you should really stress with your sales reps when you're doing a training program that they should be learning from day one?
We do. RoMac has invested, for a smaller company, we have a full-time training director. And the epiphany we had a couple of years ago is that finding and recruiting somebody to fill a lot of these positions, just not going to be able to do it. Plus, we're in Leesburg, Florida, Wildwood, Florida, Lake, Florida, Mount Dora, Florida, all throughout Central Florida. And quite frankly, we're not in Orlando, Tampa, and even those areas are struggling. So getting people to move here is a struggle. But we have wonderful people living here. So we made a conscious decision to start training our people, plant our flags, and we're hiring more people with the right qualities. We call it the IT quality. That IT quality is that person who knows how to sell, knows how to relate to people, has those tendencies to be a great salesman. And then we're training them. We've embraced a system called integrity coaching and integrity sales training. That's something that I actually picked up from my old days at Wix 28 years ago. To me, it's the best training program around. We're bringing our folks through, but we're planting our flags and training our people. Now, I'm going to circle back to this. Most of the successful people in our industry, sales reps, were trained by old Georgia Pacific, trained by old Weyerhaeuser. They had training programs. They brought these people up. I honestly believe that companies like us and the bigger companies, they're going to have to refire up their training department, identify these younger people with the it factor, paint them the picture of how much they can make, and then start investing in training. The day, if you look at resumes today on Indeed, you're seeing what I call B and C players go 1 and 2 years at a company until they find out that they don't have the tenacity to hang in, and you're retreading people. I think at some point we're all just going to have to do what we're doing. Hire your training director, put your flag in the ground, find the people within your organization, develop them, and that's how you're going to get your leadership of tomorrow.
That requires a lot of patience at a time in an industry with a 3% profit margin.
Yep, there are, but the problem is you have no other answers. I mean, you can't buy yourself out of this one. I look at the talent, it's amazing. I look at the C-level talent that's spreading out resumes. And my goodness, you got C-level people that's not been with companies a year and a half, 2 years, bouncing around from, you know, and I know I'm the exception. I've been here 26 years, going on 27 years. But you know, I have a factor, Craig, that if someone's been with a company 5 years or more, they've seen the good and the bad and the ugly. They have the tenacity and grit to really get through it. Those people have been there 1 and 2 years. They don't have the wherewithal to take you through the good times and bad times. And
That is a totally non-millennial concept, I have to warn you, Mr. Magruder.
I know, but can I tell you something? We're finding out in our own group, millennials want that. There are people, I do not prescribe with the belief that a lot of people our age think that this generation don't want the same things we want. We are finding that this generation does want houses. Right now, there are people in their 30s to give anything to be in a home. That urge to own the house is greater than any time. There are people today that want to stay with a company and have a stable future and know that they're going to be able to come in. I think the problem is we have too many people that are not offering that.
I want to thank Don for spending so much time with me today, providing great advice to you on how to be a better building product supplier. You can learn more about RoMac Building Supply by going to www.romacfl.com. That's ROMACFL.com. I also hope that you'll keep tracking what I'm doing at Webb Analytics by subscribing to my LinkedIn reports and getting my newsletter. You can follow me at webb-analytics.com. Thanks a lot, and I hope that we can talk again soon.